Nobody gets more crap around here about their presentations going along with me.
Good. As long as you do.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you have other business that you need to do, Ryan?
We're ready whenever you guys are. No, we're good.
I feel like I want to just sit here and have a sharing session of, oh my God, over the last 2 years. There's no worries. March 3rd would have been my mom's 85th birthday. 2 years ago, it was a Tuesday night intertwin. And so she's reminded me Thursday night, my mom wants to be taken out to eat Thursday night. So anyways, March 3rd, you remember my mom?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember that she was a twin.
I don't remember that.
Well, they, March 3rd, their birthday was March 3rd 2 years ago is when we were here in Little did we know. Wow. You know, when I walked in, the first thing I saw is how separated we are. We were in social distance back then. And now you drop a new pointer on me, that completely changes everything. But one of the reasons I am digressing.
We're not separated over there.
Get excited, yeah.
We gotta do something about
Actually, you
that.
know what, Andrew, you're right. We can probably put.
We gotta do
everybody-
something about
We
that.
can put everybody back in the horseshoe.
That would be nice.
Those things are changing. Do you know what time we got that email? Like our college president emailed us at what? At 12 o'clock. Rules just changed on the fly. So that was why we all brought masks. We weren't sure what your rules were here and wanted to be rule followers, of course. And one of the reasons I bring this up is it would be interesting. Don't feel hesitant to weigh in on your thoughts because, you know, a lot of times when you go out and do public opinion research like we are, if you don't ask, why would you say that? Then we try to connect the links and see if the data suggests to us why they said that. But you're going to hear us. I mean, I don't know if Larry, were you planning on, Larry with the hoodie probably was not planning on hopping up here tonight because tomorrow he has to do the same thing in St. Lawrence County that I'm doing tonight with you. So we decided to each do our own. And you're going to hear us talk about what you can see if you read up there, that's the cover page of the report that at 5 o'clock becomes live on our website and available. And the media has already done a whole bunch of interviews with us, but can I guarantee to you that we've got huge overwhelming evidence of pandemic fatigue? I can't guarantee that we asked that exact question, no. But if you start to look at other things that have changed over the last 2 years, and you look at the variables we're talking about here, it seems pretty clear, call it what you want, there's some frustration that comes through with Lewis County residents. We talked to 550 of them this time. Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that's the biggest one we've ever had in Lewis County. And so we had a big sample size. So by the way, that's an incredible thing that last October when we collected the data, we always wonder, are we still gonna get people? And thank God, Mr. Chartrain, you said you were one of the 550, right? Anybody else remember when we talked to him?
Me,
Awesome.
2 years in a row.
So,
That is a bias.
but we oftentimes wonder, are they gonna get sick of us? Are they gonna get sick of you? Are they gonna get sick of everything and just not want to necessarily share their opinions? Well, that's not the truth. They were very happy to share their opinions. And, you know, Larry and I were talking about this as I was driving across number 3 road, and there are a couple of ways before I start to click through, and we really have 2 things we want to do with you today. Yes, share the findings. Yes, have whatever discussion. I know Ryan always likes to say, hey, what do you think about this and that? But what we're going to do is add on. So believe it or not, I'm going to try to finish early tonight. I put less slides because you're going to hear us. You're going to hear us at the end, and we do this with you every year, but we want to do it even more so this year because we are going to survey again in Lewis County. So, Mr. Chartrain, pick up that phone again. We're going to be surveying in April in Lewis County all over again. With the idea being, you are going to see results tonight with what we did in October. That other than one question, there's only one I can think of. Every other question has been asked in the past, and we're doing longitudinal trending, taking a look at it. But what we want to do in April is we want to ask some questions that we're not going to ask, what do you think about what's going on in the subways in the Ukraine today? We can't ask something that time sensitive that it can change overnight with what's going on in the Ukraine. But we would like to be able to ask questions that you feel, given that we ask it in April, report the results the first week of May, that it would fall into your planning, your budgetary process, your decision making, And it could be questions that we don't reuse a second time or a third time or so on, because it might be an absolute current topic. Now, we're not gonna break you up into work groups and say, come up with it tonight for us. But what I am going to do is finish with some slides that give you a few pointers on how Larry and I have done this over the years with different clients, so you become our client tonight. It might be that we're asking absolutely every question is a first-time question we ask. If those are the ones that will help you do. You know, I presented earlier today to the rest of our faculty, and I talked about how we get the pleasure of working with folks like you and get to see the data actually used. But let's be honest, this data was collected in October. I don't know if any of us have heard the word Omicron before October. We collected these attitudes and opinions before we went through that latest surge. And what we've decided, Larry and Andy and I, is in our board, Ryan's on our board, let's see if there's a time once a year. So we will continue to do this every year in October, the longitudinal long-term picture of you guys, starting in 2007. But every spring, we're gonna do a second survey in your county, and it's going to be more things that come from you. I mean, if it doesn't come from you, who does it come from? Larry and me and the media? I mean, are we or they the best ones to know what would be best for you? I don't know. I don't expect, here it goes, Larry, I didn't know if I was gonna do it or not, but here it goes. I bet you're not gonna ask me to ask questions of your residents in April about fire trucks, pools, or parking lots. All right, but I bet Jefferson County leadership will. I bet, and definitely the city leadership is going to want us to do that. So what are those? I'm hoping you don't want me to ask about fire trucks and pools and parking lots here. But I bet you folks you live it every day, you lead it every day. So you folks know what are the things you'd really like to know, because we could all, like I could play quiz you tonight. I think I did that one year where we did Family Feud.
Yeah.
That's not in there tonight. Where I might have asked you something like this. All right, it's gonna be a real one. The question that we ask is, in general, do you think that the direction that things are going in our country right now is the right direction, wrong direction, or neither of those? And if I asked you to write down on a piece of paper, what do you think Lewis County residents said in October? That's why we go out and do this survey research, because we've done a scientifically defensible way of sampling. You're gonna see the answer when I hold you hostage in a few minutes. So I really like being able to sit right here. So that's me, and I, again, thank you for those of you who you welcome me and Larry, and now, we didn't take that out, Larry.
That was your job.
Okay, I didn't take that out. We thought, let's make it light. I don't, did you see those pictures? I'm not gonna show them again. The one where I look like Hulk Hogan somehow got in there. But anyways.
The mustache or the muscles?
Oh, I think you saw it, that you were looking. I had the most Papa Smurf white beard during the pandemic, and then I shaved it down to a Hulk Hogan, and it was on. I'm not showing you again. So anyways, you welcome us every year so genuinely, and that we really like coming doing this with you each time. And I don't know how much longer. Let's see if I can do it. All right. I thought the top one was the zoom in and thing.
It is. You gotta click and hold.
Oh, you got to hold. Okay, so if I go too far back, then you're going to see Hulk Hogan again. So, okay, there it is. Ooh, Larry, zoom in on Larry. So, I'm not going to, this is my 37th year. So we have to have a succession plan that you're looking at back there. And I know that they feel the same way that I do. They didn't have to come here tonight. They did because they enjoyed being a part of your leadership team. So anyways, can I be any more nice than what I was right there? I'm being sincere. So those are the sponsors, and look what's, you folks are, the only one of the 3 counties that formally budgets for and supports and helps us do this. And it's incredibly, we say it to the other 2 counties all the time, and we're very thankful for it. And you deserve to be acknowledged for it. And I'm gonna make sure I get the buttons right. So what was the study? I'll hit quickly. You've seen those slides before. How was the survey completed? I'll hit it quickly. What are the key findings this year? I'll go through that, not as quickly if you want to. And then the last one is the request and the invitation for you, because we really want you to email us some questions. And they don't have to be perfect. They can be this concept, and I want to know how important people think it is. Or this characteristic, and I want to know whether they perceive that as a barrier. So come up with we'll give you a little rubric to go through, but if you can do that on your own time and let us know, that'd be wonderful. And then, it's up to you whether you want us to come back and actually present the results or just send it to you as a report. We'll figure it out, yes.
One thing we might do is ask some of the towns, villages, if they've got questions that they'd like to ask too, because they have different perspectives than we have.
I don't disagree at all. And we are fully prepared for, this won't be the first time, that it gets back. And then you have to go through a little paring down process of, all right, you can't ask all those questions.
So you said it was gonna be a one-time thing.
Right.
So,
Right. Oh, absolutely. I'm with you, that we would want to do that. There's nothing, I think, that would be too, geographically specific. Maybe I would come up with another one that you'd say, well, that's only relevant to the people that live on whatever, Sears Pond Road or something. That might be a little bit too specific, but for the most part, I don't know. I think we're getting, this is top priority for us is to design the next one. And so anyways, those are the 9 sections of questions. It was a total of 41 questions. And of those 41, I was saying to you that I believe there's only one that we haven't asked before. So the 20 quality of life indicators, you're going to see it soon. The largest issue facing the county, you'll see it soon. We've asked all of those before. Everything on that list. Please notice that number 7, Larry and I dug way back into the archives, and that question, the last time we'd asked was 2008. Really interesting to see its change over, 14 years. So a total of 41 questions this time around. There isn't anything new on there other than you should see from the pictures on the right. We did this as a hybrid of somewhere in our virtual call center, but we actually did open up last October. It was before Omicron. We had students in our call center. That if we were doing this over Christmas, we wouldn't have had students in the call center. And so there's in blue up there. The sample size is 550 with a margin of error roughly plus or minus 5%. You can see that's really small in here. But what that is it's the 20 indicators all in one graph. So again, I'm sorry, but the very top one that you see up there is outdoor recreational opportunities. The dark blue is excellent. The lighter blue next to it is good. And then it becomes fair and poor. So if you look over at the green at the right, you can see the ones that have a lot of people saying poor, definition of a lot. How did I sort that? The dark blue is what's sorted down. What are the ones that people are most likely to say are excellent? So outdoor rec opportunities, quality of the environment, K-12 education. File that one away for a moment. It was number 3 out of the 20. The local folks said our K-12 education. And then you go down to the very bottom, and I know it's small, sorry, at the bottom, it is the local economy. And then right above that on the bottom is availability of behavioral health services. So those are the ones that if someone wants to take a look at, those 20 indicators. But what does that not tell you? Has it changed? What does it not tell you? How are you compared to the other 2 counts? This is just a snapshot of compare the 22 one another. But if you take a look at those 20 and you go back to pre-pandemic. So let me just read at you because that's a lot of information on a graph. Recent change in the rate of responding excellent or good. We forever have defined excellent or good as being a positive response. And what I want you to see on there is only one of the 20 did that rate go up. And I don't think that would shock you. Think about last October. Hiring now. God, what was the sign they had in front of Arby's out here? There was a funny sign that they had one time that said stop in and eat and work or something like that. They had in front of them when I drove by. Your folks said the availability of good jobs, there was 11% more said excellent or good than the last time that we had measured it pre-pandemic. But the other 19, I mean, you can't miss it, all went down. Now, what? Again, Larry and I kicked that around a whole lot. The one that went down the most is in 2019, the folks who evaluated town and village government, again, we don't ask them why, but 16% less of the residents said town and village government is excellent or good than did when we measured it in October. Now, full disclosure, a lot of these blues that you see as going down are really a shift from good to fair. They're not a shift all the way from good saying it's really poor, but you can't miss the idea that what is going on at 19 out of the 20 went down. Well, I will tell you one thing. And I'm looking at you, Mr. Hathaway, and I'm remembering that you just clapped, and I'm gonna be short, I'm gonna be brief tonight. And you might have gotten 100 on every math test that you had when you were in high school, but if you think about it, if you get 100 on the first test, you get 100 on the next test, there's only one direction to go. And the point I want to say to you is this: your results in 2018 and 2019, if you look at the trends, were the highest ever recorded. And then we had, let's be honest, we have a pandemic. That's easy to be honest about. Let's be honest, your county voted almost 70% for President Trump. And we've had a change in nationwide administration between the last time that I'm comparing it to and now. I think Larry and I would have been absolutely astounded if, given those two factors, we didn't have some from getting 100 and 100 on 2 exams. So if we didn't see some of this, we'd be like, what are we really doing? Only getting the incredibly happy people to talk to us on the phone? I'm driving across number 3 road today, and I'm listening to NPR, and you probably heard it too if you listened to it. Pew and Marist, and I think it might have been I can't remember who the third one was, but they did a nationwide poll in the last 2 days, and Biden's approval rating was 39%, the lowest he's had yet. Do we really think Lewis County would be that different from the rest of the country of what's going on? I believe, however, though, when you look at some of the other results, this is not as indicative, as indicative of just saying, remember, those are comparing to 2018 or 2019, the most recent time we measured it. Then we had election 2020, but we also had a pandemic start 2 years ago today, basically. And here we then measured it in October of 2021. We don't know 100% for certain what might be the further of the causal factor, but you saw from the title on our report what we believe, and you'll see why as we look at some of the other ones that we're trending later. But from the first 2 slides, this is why sociologists, and none of the 3 of us are sociologists, we're kitchen table sociologists, we're math geeks, but you kind of have to learn if you're going to present to people how to be a little bit of a kitchen table sociologist or psychologist, and the sociologist studying society says to me, you can't, if nothing had changed, if nothing at all had changed, then randomness would be the most likely thing you'd be looking at up there is 10 green and 10 blue. Some go up by random chance and some go down by random chance. That ain't 10 and 10. That's 19 to 1. So I think it says something has changed. But it's further why we're saying, notice this. What we're doing right now is we're looking at the rate of saying poor. In the dark cell, you see, I mean, we could probably be sociologists right now, and let's go from left to right. Just before the mortgage bubble burst, recession, things going crazy positive, economy booming. We know there was a presidential election in 2016. The stock market went up to about 36,000. The unemployment rate in fall of 2021, when we did this, the unemployment rate is unprecedented low. So we can see what's going on, and across all those different things, this is saying poor, and the dark gray is highest we've ever found. Like I stopped at that 17, look to the left of it. Never has healthcare access been rated as poor by as large as 17%. That's why Larry and Andy and I are looking at it and saying, we can't come over here and just say, because we like you. Let's only cherry pick the really positive things that we can all feel good about. Let's take a look at longitudinal data. And so we clearly see that there is that 100 maybe only went down to a 95 though, because you know what I haven't shown you yet? What's it like in St. Lawrence County? What's it like in Jefferson County? And that's why we give you the report and we say you sink your teeth into it with a little bit of me leading you through and now. That table is obviously table 10 in the full report. And then I was just telling this guy named John from Channel 7 right before I had it over here. If you look at that light blue line that's right over, oops, did I hit the right button? No. If you look at that light blue line, the one right there, that we call it, this is an open-ended question. This is an open-ended question of what's the biggest issue facing the residents of your county? We did not ask it in 2020. The last time we asked it was 2019. Never before, in 2015, right before Trump Hillary, right before that. Look how government, leadership, politics Went up, but then it went down. However, it's now the most common response we get. Look at the dark blue one at the top and started 2010.
They think the largest issue facing the residents of Lewis County is politics.
Government, leadership, and politics. That's what they said. And I think more commonly, Ryan, they were probably saying government and leadership. Again, what do I feel without directly asking each one of those 550 people? I feel that they were pandemic, and this is October. This is October. Every student, every one class of mine, every store you went into, every restaurant you went into, you knew there was different things than what we're experiencing right now. And even though there were jobs out there, look what they said, availability, good jobs through the roof. Stock market, 36,000. There was some fatigue that seemed to be coming out from me. Now, Ryan, to fully answer your question, that's collapsing those three together. If we went back to the 550 rows, you might be able to take that 22% and reshuffle it in some way. But I did it in the same way we've done it every other year.
Was that locally focused or nationally focused?
They could have answered on a national basis if they perceived it as an issue that residents of your county have. I mean, that's one of the tough things with an open-ended question, is that you're not really sure. Like, you want to know another tough thing with an open-ended question? If we say, what's your biggest issue facing the residents of Lewis County? And they say, gun control. What we don't know is, are they saying there's too much, or are they saying there's too little? An open-ended question is difficult, but when you look across time, what I can tell you, Ryan, is it isn't hard to identify when somebody says economy or jobs. And look where that is. That's down below 20% for the first time ever that people said that. Look at the one that's right there with the weird color blue. This drugs and alcohol, look, it was an emphasis in 2017, I would certainly expect around here. People are telling us first thing on their mind, biggest issue. Now, should be said, and because I know Larry's thinking it right now, that question in the script is right after they heard the 20 indicators. So they just had those 20 things evaluated in their mind. Now, what's the biggest issue? Does that bias or skew them? Potentially in some way, but it's the way we've always done it. So no more this year than other.
I think it's accurate that people, for better or for worse, are more engaged in politics than ever before. Because, you know, you look historically all the way back to 2007, I mean, you ask people, what's the most important thing in your neighborhood? What's the most important thing in your community? I can't imagine that politics and, you know, government was the most important thing. Or the largest issue. So that to me is pretty shocking. That
It'll be interesting to see if we measure it again next year. We keep that question in there. It's like, is this recognizing that as a big issue that we're all facing each day?
And yet, during a pandemic, healthcare issues.
I know.
That's gotta be skewed because you couldn't get to the hospital, you know? But
Yeah. Oh, why didn't I go there before? I forgot I put it in there. I zoomed in for you. I zoomed in, but we already saw it, so you can see that graph pretty well. That's just zooming in on the last 4 years, so you can actually read my titles.
I like that people said everything is worse.
Oh, I know.
Everything.
We do not give them that as an option. But
Oh my gosh.
But 1 out of every 11 people, 9%, you say, you know, what do you think is the largest issue? They just go, everything. All the above. It's like, wait a minute, all of the above, we didn't just read you an above. Do you disagree with me?
no, it's the only thing I can think is all the above. We just went through 20 things.
Right.
All the 20
Right.
things you just asked me about are the worst.
We can tell our person that gets the person that says, pour everything, pour. Because the poor caller is like, oh my God, and I'm only halfway through the survey with this person. And you can tell that they like need to go have a seltzer after that, and a slice of pizza or something. So, but you know, we want to get all kinds, of course. So, there's the one that if you, let me help you focus on this one. We ask, this is the in general. So by the way, this is giving the answer to what I said a minute ago. If I made you all guess. So let me start over here on the left with in the entire country. We've only asked it for 3 years. That's why it's on there. But when I was last here, when we asked people what direction are things going in the country, your residents were almost identical with saying right versus wrong. We did ask this one in 2020, and it went down. Think about 2020, 6 months into the pandemic, 8 months into the pandemic. Oh my God, I'll let you wrap your brain around what's staring at you right there. Right there.
Yeah.
Would you have written down that it has gone from 42% in 2019 down to 11% in 2021? Now, we did not ask about New York State until this year. And New York State, very similar. You see 16 to 75 versus 11 and 79. But check out locally. And this is why I said, whoops, sorry, didn't do that on purpose to mess you up. These are the 3 years in Lewis County. And there is no question that I can remember, Ryan, you basking in the glory of justifiably saying, check that out. In our county, 2 years ago, it was 61 to 18. People were more than 3 times more likely to say Lewis County's in the right direction. So if you only looked over here at those 3 things, you'd go, oh my God, we're going down the tubes in Lewis County. Because last year, 61 went down to 49, and this year, 35 to 31. But I'd say, wait a minute. I mean, what I want you to realize is, again, I don't believe that you folks in this room, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe any of the people in this room, you and how you do your job and that you do your job changed due to the 2020 election results. So therefore, what would be the explanation for 61 going down to 35? I don't think it's exclusively due to the 2020 election results. So we have a change and now, no, I think it's more due to, and you might disagree with me, that's what makes it fun, but I think it's, I mean, you saw the results of evaluating your K-12 education. Even though it was third on the list, it still went down. And it's not, maybe that's remote learning tide or something like that. But no, I believe it's a frustrated, tired, oh my God, are we going to get through this? What am I really excited for? Wait till we put the 2022 on there.
Well,
Because then we use the R word, the recovery word.
what's interesting, Joel, is that county government was more in people's face than the last 2 years than probably it has been in the 25 years before that. I mean, county government didn't mean, I mean, we know what we do here. We've got a big budget in a lot of departments, we provide a lot of services. But the average person, whether you lived on this side of the county line or, you know, if you lived in Copenhagen or the town of Watertown, and you still went to Copenhagen School District, it didn't make a huge difference in your life. All of a sudden, until the pandemic, when you've got, you know, different public health departments, you know, our response was in many ways differentiated from St. Lawrence and Jefferson's, and sometimes in a good way, maybe sometimes in a bad way, but county government was at the forefront in a way that it had not been in many, many years for most people, I would think. So maybe before they were just kind of happy with us because they didn't really notice this.
You know what kind of jumps out at me, and I'm not just saying this because I want to do a feel-good thing here tonight with you. I'm saying it because trying to wrap your brain around it. Let's look at the, whoops, let's screw up again. Let's look at the gray bars, not the green ones. And if you look, the reason that goes 49 down to 35, yeah, it went down by 14%. But wrong direction went 30 to 31. It was more of a shift from right direction to not really sure, as compared to right direction flip-flopping and becoming wrong direction. That is not true when they're assessing the country. That went up to 79%. I don't think anyone could argue that. Again, it would be incredibly inconsistent given what I saw in November of 2020. Questions on any of this?
Do you have the county comparison for which direction your county is going?
And no.
That's
County
what
is
matters
going.
to me.
Case guys available for you quick. I'd have to go over and pull it up. That's the one about the country. And again, there is what we're talking about. You guys are green because that's your color. 11 to 79. Jefferson, 26 to 50. St. Lawrence. I mean, St. Lawrence is the one that has a almost spot on exact number of registered Democrats and registered Republicans in St. Lawrence County. So our results, when you compare the counties, make sense in a way that, any luck, you guys? Great question. Probably should have put it in there. Didn't realize how competitive you were, Ryan, but I should have known. How did I not think that? Why would I put the country up there as the one? My whole goal was to just say to you every single question in the report. It has, that we can, has that page.
Page 51.
Yeah, I got you.
Page 51.
So the right direction for Jefferson County was 42%, Lewis County was 35%, St. Lawrence County was 39%. Wrong direction, Jefferson County was 26%, Lewis County was 31%, St. Lawrence County was 37%. And in not sure, 33 was in Jefferson County, 34%, in Lewis County, and 25% in St. Lawrence.
Man, we kicked their butt the last few years and then
Those 9 numbers even went over my head, and I teach this stuff for a living. Tell me the right directions again.
Right direction, 42% in Jefferson County, 35% Lewis County, 39%.
So very similar. But they weren't as condemning of what's going on in the country. Now, one thing to notice is look at what I'm pointing at. April, June, just pre-Omicron. October. So that could be something that you would think about. So the next slide is, and we don't need to go crazy on this, but all I want you to know is that every single question on the survey, you can take a look if you want. Do the genders differ? Do the age groups differ? Do the education level groups differ? Do the income level groups differ? And then do people who self-identify as conservative, what's that 91% saying? If you tell us there were 200 and, is that a 19 or a 49? 219 folks told us I'm conservative. 91% of that group says the country is going in the wrong direction. Without showing it to you, I know Ryan wonders, it's not that distinguished and separated when it has to evaluate your count. So it's all in the report where you'll be able to look it up. And now we kind of hit the fast lane of, there's that same question, the right direction in our country. And those are the numbers that Andy just brought off to us, that St. Lawrence County, Andy must have been right in the idea of between 30 and 40. Wasn't it like 33%?
that was for county.
Our country though. If you go to the one for the country, all right.
Yeah.
And I think I can go back and probably find it. You see the 33, the 26, and the 11 right there? That's the right direction for our country. 33 is in that dark blue, St. Lawrence. 26 or whatever it was, and 11. What am I showing you there? I'm trying to show you that they're the 3 counties. So what's that say to you? St. Lawrence County shouldn't shock you. At the most positive assessment. Jefferson in the middle. St. Lawrence, Lewis lowest. It is section 2.0 in the report. We're really proud of getting, even for those of you that are from over in Jefferson County, your background, Mr. Burns, Gulu Island and Stony Island, and we're so proud of having that with the shorelines we've learned from some GIS. So what I want to do is show you that I could do this for any question you want on the study with, in 2019, the direction things were going. This is you guys. This is by town. Look at the shades of green. And all these dark shades of green say, those percents 2 years ago were saying, yeah, the direction of the country is going the right way. Why am I showing you this? Because what it's saying is that 11% is not just Loudville. It's not just Croton. Every one of the 17 towns, the rate went down.
The taste.
That kind of says overwhelmingly, how are you going to argue with it? It's everywhere. People are saying that. Not that it should shock you. In fact, I think it would shock you if we didn't find that. So we have not made your report become biblical in its thickness. But we could. All it takes is a little bit, Larry's really fast at this, a little bit of recoding and making a CSV file, and we can run those for any question on the study. I picked this one because we wanted to see how the visual really tells the story. That there's not a single one of the 17 towns that got darker green in those 2 years. So that's the data that underlies it. And you see how this is finding stat 4 up there? I think I only went to like finding stat 7. So now we're at the quick part, and then I want to ask you to share with us a little bit. And when you wrap your brain around that one, that's the one we've been asking since 2008. Is your personal financial situation getting better, stayed the same, or gotten worse? And this is where we were saying, look at blue. This blue right there is the better. And there it was climbing through the mid. There's the 100 on the exam. There's the highest we'd ever gotten. And yeah, it did go down in 2020, then it continued down this time, or better. And then look at the worst. Again, worst was going down through all of those boom years of the mid 2010s. And then what's happened? And that's an interesting thing that folks could debate, the idea that this is the same group of 550 people that firmly believe more than ever before that there's availability of good jobs. But when you ask them to assess their own personal situation, that's the highest rate of worse, 34% we've ever measured. Excuse me, no. 2008, rate starting the pandemic, or excuse me, the recession, was 41% the highest. But it's the second highest.
Yeah, and meanwhile, personal savings has gone through the roof. The government's been handing everybody money. It's got to be a perception answer that things are getting worse, even though my pocketbook's looking pretty good.
I showed a crosstab in the presentation, I think, earlier today, and it all kind of floats together in my mind. But I do remember two numbers. You know how I said that we crosstab it by? If you look at the factors that we crosstab by. So this is right direction, wrong direction of the whole country. But what if this was better, same, worse for your personal financial situation? Trust me on this, even though Andy will fact check me really quick. I think I have it right. The lowest income level, the group that says we make under $25,000 a year in our household, 4% said that their personal financial situation has gotten better. And over 40% had said worse, more than a 10-to-1 ratio. The people in the upper income, household income, it was 25 or 26%. 25%.
Said it's gotten worse.
No, so it's gotten better. So 25% of the, so the whole idea of is there a correlation? Absolutely, Eric. Can I tell you what's the cause and effect direction? I can't. But I do know that year after year after year, the folks who are in the higher income brackets are much more likely. Stock market went up to 36,000. Kind of makes sense that they would say their personal financial situation has gotten better. The question is, with unemployment rate so low, I don't know the answer to this. I'm not even conjecturing the answer because I don't want to sound judgmental or finger pointing at anyone, but the lowest income group clearly has not suggested at all. I mean, only 4% saying it's getting better. That's the lowest we've ever found in a subgroup. So anyway, that's where you can dig in and see. And I've already been through all these slides. And you might remember, I hope you do. I hope I haven't woke you into submission yet. I showed you the slide with the 20 indicators, and one of them was K-12 education. And I said the likelihood that they say X, Y are good has gone down. It did. But this is a different variation of that question. I want you to realize Lewis County Schools adequately preparing. 49% agree, 28% disagree. That's more, they're almost twice as likely to agree. That's a good thing. But then you take a look at the trend over time, and there's no question. Now, why do these lines get so wide? We didn't ask the question every year. So what's the first thing you should be asking me? What Ryan asked me. What about the other countries? I don't know if I put it in next or counties. I didn't. I put this in there because we've tracked it over time. Would you notice how long these lines are here? We haven't asked this question since 2018. And before that, it was 2016. But it was, what's your primary? We only let them choose one. Source of information about local events, and what you can't miss is internet, you'd expect, going way up. About local news, internet going up, but look at television. Television is remaining stable in there. It's not going way down. Of course, what's going down is printed newspaper. So I put that in there because it is a community indicator we've measured. And I think I'm almost at the point to say, finally, we have childcare and we have volunteerism. Childcare, that's the one I mentioned a while back. We haven't asked it in 13 years, but in those 13 years, if you take a look at the yes, I often have difficulty, and the yes, but not that often, and add those two together, the 32 and the 12, you get 46, and of course I don't have these numbers to add right here, but I can ballpark. You see that one's probably 11, the blue, and the green is probably 5. So it was 16%. And while that's changed, I don't think that probably shocks you, that it's a community issue that I know you are addressing in Lewis County with certifying healthcare. And then the last one is volunteerism, and we hadn't asked this since 2015. And what's really interesting is look at the stability across there, especially between 2015 and now. We grouped it. Don't volunteer at all. And we had a definition of what volunteerism is. 1 to 5 hours, 6 to 10, 21 plus, 11. Look at those lines. They're almost perfectly horizontal. And that's the one that we all heard Scott Gray talking about recently, as he decided to no longer be chairman of the Board of Legislature in Jefferson County. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about, right? That he's no longer the chairman of the board.
All I know is
in
Ryan's
Jefferson
been
County.
harassing the poor guy for 10 years.
When I heard Scott Gray, and my ears, of course, tuned in because he talked about us. And as soon as he starts talking about us, I thought, okay, let me make sure he gets it right. So this is what Scott Gray said, and he definitely got it right. But what he got right is the same thing that you should recognize is right. I just showed a contrast of self-described conservatives versus liberals. No question, that's there. They are different in their societal attitudes, even behaviors, beliefs, preferences. But what I want you to realize is the middle bar there. The middle bar is, it doesn't matter, Ryan, whether it's Cranberry and us in Jefferson County, or green, you in Lewis County, or blue up in St. Lawrence County. The most common answer that people say to us is, I'm not one of those, and I'm not one of those. The most common answer that they give us is a more moderate answer, that I'm not conservative, I'm not liberal, I'm in the middle. And that's what Scott Gray was talking about, is that he perceives himself as a person who speaks to the middle. I won't go whether I agree or disagree, but what was I listening to? Was he stating the facts right? And the facts were absolutely right. Now, if you look over here at the conservative ones, you folks have 9%, they say I'm very conservative, and another 29 is 38. And I can't read that, but I think it's 8 and behind them, chair, 8 and 2.
Yeah.
So 38 to 10, a 4-to-1 ratio, it's happened year after year after year. Larry and Andy and I look at it and say, did we somehow screw up in our sampling this year? If that ever reversed, we go, what did we do? It never reversed. We do what we do, we talk to who we talk to, and then we look at the demographics and go, yup, that's a sample that I would expect to believe. So I don't know why in that 1 year or 2 years, there's kind of an anomaly over there of some of your folks saying, they didn't say don't know that much. They called themselves middle of the road. Whereas you see now, people are a little bit more likely to say, I don't know. And that's probably why that dot was up there. Maybe we delivered the question slightly a different way. Maybe. But either way, compare the conservatives to the liberals, and in all 3 counties, even St. Lawrence, there's more self-described conservatives than liberals. Am I right, Larry? Just by a hair? 28 to 25 or so, the blues. But in all 3 counties, learn our constituents, they tend to be more middle. And this is, I know I've taken more time than I anticipated, but I've taken longer before. Let me just, what's on that slide, this was supposed to be my last slide. I added a few more in. So let me take you through what I added in. Sienna released it last Tuesday, a week ago today. That was the one where I heard Greenberg on the radio. Greenberg's basically the me, but just way smarter than me and more highly paid than me, I'm sure, and all that kind of stuff. For Sienna, and I heard him on the radio, and he said, "Yup, we talked to parents in New York State. They do the whole state, and we asked them. This is last week, before Hochul came up this weekend. Said, do you think students should be masked or should not be masked?" And Turnout amongst the parents, it was basically 50% said should be masked and 50% said don't. And he finished by saying, good luck, school districts. So anyways, my point is this. That would be not even worth talking about question today because decisions have been made. So notice what Sienna did. They collected the data. Do you see my red up there? February 14th to 17th. They analyzed the data, and I know you can't read it, February 22nd. So that's a turnaround of 5 days. We can do that. We've committed to do that, where we can ask questions before they become antiquated and report them to you. Not show up here and do a presentation, but get you the press release just like they did. And then you can use it and let Ryan do the presentation of the facts we did. Or if you want us to come over, one of the 3 of us can come over. But to do that, you don't want us to write the survey questions. It just wouldn't be right. So there's your deadline. Sorry. That's April 12th, we're going to be calling in your county, and Jefferson, and St. Lawrence. So that's kind of a deadline, but we have spring break in between there. So what I'm saying to you is, let me go ahead and then go back on purpose for once. Do you see the red date? 3 weeks. You think it's enough, Ryan? So in 3 weeks, don't give me questions, please, about pools and parking lots and fire trucks. And I just screwed this up. How do I get this thing back now? I know what's on the other slide. If you can't get it back, they want me to end anyways.
Which slide?
Maybe we could use this time to talk about, we've got 10 minutes here. What type of questions would you guys like to see? We're gonna get some instant.
Andy's ready to record. He brought a laptop to record. You're awesome. All I want to do is that, Ryan. Don't ask us to ask a question that's supposed to be to 10-year-olds, because we're not going to survey 10-year-olds. So that's the first bullet. It's got to be a question to ask adults. Second thing is, it can't be just because you're curious. It's got to be something actionable, like adds to the body of knowledge. And the third thing is, try your best, even though we're not perfect at it either, to have it not be biased, loaded, leading. Can't be double-barreled. You want a double-barreled one? Ask people, do you think that housing in Denmark is safe and affordable? It can be safe but not affordable. It can be affordable but not safe. That's double-barreled. Can't be what I said about the Ukraine. Can't be something that becomes outdated overnight. Must be actionable, and please don't give us any more open-ended ones where we have to interpret what did they really mean when they told us a whole 10-minute monologue about something. That's my brain dump down there at the bottom. So maybe that would help, Ryan, facilitate what you want to do for 10 minutes. Those are the characteristics that we usually look at. Those are the aspects we usually look at. So it's all you.
You never used my questions.
Did you give me questions?
Oh, do I ever give you questions? Just kidding.
You send me questions, Phil.
I'd be interested in doing one about mental health. I don't know how that should be worded. Maybe do you know somebody who has, that would have to be, because I think that's a big thing that we're trying to work on right now. But I wouldn't know how to word that. So you're not asking people, do you have a mental health disorder? Maybe something that quite knows.
So your first question even says to me, okay, I left that off there. Mental health, I can say, okay, that's up there with healthcare. But what it sounded to me like you were talking about was prevalence. And I didn't put prevalence on the second list just because I ran out of time and didn't do it. But prevalence, how prevalent is something, how common is something, how uncommon is something, is another thing, in addition to, do you support versus oppose? Or are you familiar or not? Or do you perceive this as a barrier or not? Or do you want a fire truck or not? Or what do you think we should do with that pool or not? And is the media here going to pick on me? They probably will. I should have.
There's no we here.
Go on to the next slide. No, so sorry to interrupt, but that's what I hear. Prevalent seems. Andy's got it.
So our goals that we set for the year included, rolling out some mental health videos and marketing and trying to break down stigma about mental health and self-harm. We're trying to do an initiative to solve what's potentially a crisis with EMS providers and volunteerism with that. We've obviously got our big county building project, so we've already solved, at least internally, a lot of the questions about our facilities. We're kind of moving forward with those. What were some of the other goals that we.
Homeless facility? And you could ask, you could ask a question like, would you be acceptable of it in your community? I don't know if that's leading or not, but.
Well, then whichever town has the best answer.
But, those are the things, some of them are not gonna be easy to ask, some of them, again, it's careful what you ask for, we're careful with what you're gonna learn, but that's what we wanna do this time along with you is, Larry and I met with the Watertown Daily Times, some of the editorial staff last week, and they came up with some things similar to what you're saying, that some of this had to do with workforce. Things like, have you really gotten a raise? Have you realized the benefit from that raise? Have you made decisions about the job you're doing based upon different impacts of the pandemic? And they were really kind of drilling down even to the traveling nurse idea of how difficult, specifically in healthcare. Anything else, Larry, you can remember from what? My notes are buried over there.
There was one other item I know there was, I remember it was.
I think childcare was on there, and it almost seems like a mental health comment came from them as well.
By April, some more of what we're doing regarding recreation will be more public, probably. So maybe a question about really drilling down more specifically about certain sections of trail and, what type of recreation you'd like to see, something like that. Maybe that's getting a little ahead of ourselves, but that could be an interesting data, because we know we're gonna have that debate sometime in the next year, right? About whether we're gonna push for more, motorized or more passive on some of the areas that we're looking to acquire, so.
And you saw, we
Camping
recorded,
and lodging, that would be
pardon me, you said,
camping and lodging. It seems that there's quite a bit of campgrounds and lodging and Airbnb popping up in the county, and there's some tension, as there usually is between locals and local planning boards and that type of thing. That could be an interesting area to explore.
Joel, I think one thing that might be an interesting kind of preceded demographic question is how, and you had a question about volunteerism, but a question about group affiliation. There's been a generational decline in involvement in churches, involvement with volunteer fire companies, bowling clubs, like, the Elks Club, the things that were more common in my father's generation are less common now. And maybe over time, if there's a trend, and if that's being reflected in, quality of life, mental health questions, things like that, I'd be curious to see if that can get into it. I don't know how you phrase it, but.
well, one thing that Larry and I have, it's really, I think I've shared it with you too before, but we have this internal document that we just keep in one place. The classic 300 and some odd rows where it's 300 different wordings of questions that we've done in your county. And then 15 columns for us to keep track. When do we ask what? If I went back and looked, and there may very well be one back in the years of Denise Young being involved with us in the leadership at the center, that she was very much into community health. Anyone who knows Denise knows that, and public health and volunteerism and civic duty and all those things. It almost seems like we did something with the Community Action Planning Council. And whether we did it in Lewis County, we'll just dig and look. So that'd be really great if we had an earlier data point.
There's probably plenty to, the hospital and some of your board put your heads together, Jerry, come up with a few questions of things that you'd love to hear more about.
How many questions, I don't know if you gave us that, Joel, how many questions do you think you'll ask in the survey?
Not to go too deep into the weeds, but the reality, because of both of you folks being on our board, is what we're really saying, and I had to kind of pitch this to the leadership of the college and the board, our board, is that, when you saw maroon, green, and blue, as we did the 3 counties, we would do 400 in each county once a year. That's 1,200. Now we're saying let's do each of those 3 counties twice. So it is true, we doubled our payroll, we doubled. So how do we make it happen without somehow going bankrupt? One of the ways is you keep the survey instrument a little bit shorter so that you can get more productivity, more completes per hour, and the cost per complete goes down. All of that said, and what we have to manage, plus there's respondent burden and fatigue, and we're all human. Get to the 120th question, Agree. It just happens. So we want to keep it short for a lot of reasons. I'm dodging the answer. I would say 20 to 25 questions. As long as none of them are open-ended. As long as none of them have a paragraph lead in. Something like, do you know what an ATV is? Well, ATVs sometimes ride in Lewis County. When they ride in Lewis County, they need trails. No, we're not gonna ask all that stuff. We're just gonna go, boom, what do you think? So 20 to 25, I think is,
Yeah, I think what our thought was 20 to 25 questions, and then we would have our typical demographic questions on the end, so we can make sure we have everything.
I think,
Overall, probably like 30, but 20, 25 contact questions.
I think a question about county engagement engagement with county government would be interesting. I mean, we're doing the largest capital project we've done in 50 years, and we had nobody come to our public hearing. So, maybe see if,
is that good or bad?
well, no comment.
Okay.
That's a good question. Yeah, are we doing it right or are we not communicating?
Right, are people just satisfied with the level of engagement so they don't need to show up, or are they clueless about what we're doing so they don't show up?
So watch ask, did you show up? And like 30% of people say yes. That never happens. They never lie to us, okay?
Yeah.
I want you to think that. I think we've gotten what we had hoped for out of here with a whole lot of things, and I don't want to disagree with the idea of potentially some of the next layer of government below you folks also weighing in with what's interest to the people in the town of Gregg or the town of Watson or whatever. As long as the 3 weeks can work, we will do the operationalizing, and then there'll be some level of, hey, this is what we turned it into. Let us know whether we missed target. Some email back and forth, and Larry's going to be doing the same thing tomorrow with the department heads in St. Lawrence County. And then I'm going to reach out to, the crew in Jefferson County. All right, well, if you have other questions, we'd be happy to hit them. Otherwise, thank you so much. Like always, it's a pleasure to come over here.
Thanks, Joel.
And it's my pleasure. And I know Denise has had us ask some of those things.